Hey guys, it is Training Thursday. Hi everybody, and welcome to Training Thursday. This week I've been asked lots and lots. Some of these questions have been coming up a lot in the hub and the club about, I have just released this thing and I don't know why nobody's bought it. I've done all of the things. I've been focusing on my ideal client. I've been focusing on what words I've put in my sales page. I've been sharing it everywhere. I've got this program, or I've got this event or this workshop, and I've shared it everywhere. It's got lots of likes, but nobody's actually bought it. So that's one series of questions I get asked is, I'm doing all the things and I think I'm doing all the right things, but nobody's bought it. The second thing I get asked is, why is it that I know the thing that's going to be right for this person? I love being able to help people. I know that these particular supplements, these particular vitamins, these particular herbs are going to get them on track, but I have no idea how to get them to change their mind about what's going to be best for them. So, I see lots and lots of different discussions about how to do that. How do we change somebody's mind so that, because it's their mind that's getting in the way, so that they're making good choices for themselves? So today is a little exploration on mind triggers, like mental triggers, and they're triggers that happen in behavioral change for human beings. Mental triggers, I'm going to talk about 10 of them. 10 mental triggers that we need to address before somebody changes their mind. So again, this can be really helpful in clinical practice when you're trying to get somebody to change their mind about the things that they're doing for themselves. Change their mind maybe about what they're doing when it comes to their physical health. Change their mind about what they're going to do for their mental health. Change their mind about a habit they're trying to break, or an idea, a treatment plan that you want them to be involved in. And it can also be really beneficial if you've got a program, a workshop, or an event that you are super excited about sharing with people, except somehow people are liking it or interested in it, but they're not actually clicking the button to buy. So changing their mind and creating a mental trigger enough that people get that one-click kind of hit to be able to make a good choice for them, and you knowing that it is a good choice for them as well. All right, so say hello if you have just joined us. I'm looking forward to answering any questions to do with what you've got going on, or what you've seen, and what other challenges you've had when it comes to helping people make good choices for themselves, and how to actually get people to convert. I know it's a really weird, icky, salesy term, but to convert from people who are just watching in the background to actually clicking the button. So please say hi if you are joining us. All right, I've just noticed that it might be doing that thing that it sometimes does. Facebook is having some really interesting times recently around sharing information and looking at. All right, let me see if I've got you on screen here, peeps. Yes, I have. All right, but you're not on screen on my, whoa, there we go, on my computer. All right. Thanks for waiting, peeps. All right, hey, Alison, hey, Tisha. Hey, Catherine, hey, Anita. All right, so what I am sharing with you today is 10 mental triggers that will get people to buy your stuff. 10 mental triggers to get people to buy into the idea of looking after themselves. 10 mental triggers that will get people to click the button that you want them to, come to your event, buy your e-course, make good choices for themselves rather than the choices that they have been making. All right, so are we ready? Yes. If you are trying to sell your program, if you're trying to create a sales page for an event or a workshop or a retreat, then you want to know about these 10 mental triggers. If you are having trouble with return clients, or you're having trouble with getting people across the line to buy the supplements that you know that they need to have, or the herbal medicine that you know they need to have, or even the nutrition plan that you've given them. It doesn't actually have to be something that they're actually paying for. You might be having a buy-in to an idea. Then you want to know about these 10 mental triggers. All right. Number 1. First mental trigger is a story. We are all humans. And the thing about being a human is it's in our DNA to get information through a story. Now, it used to be cavemen sitting around a fire and sharing the generational knowledge and passing it down from one person to another, and sharing that wisdom in a way that we remember it through telling a story that gets us to feel a certain way. This is one of the biggest things that we talk about in the club, and we have been as well, is how can you get a story across that it makes it impactful enough for somebody to see themselves in that story. So here's a little tip for you. Number 1, if you're really interested in story, go and check out Joseph Campbell's work on the hero's journey. It's a bit bigger of a subject. But number 2 is a high, low, high. So at the beginning of a story, we start with, I was doing really, really well in pathology. I loved my work. I loved the people that I worked with. I loved the variety that I worked in the hospital system, and I got paid super regularly. But then I had to go and see a patient at about 3 a.m., an 85-year-old patient at about 3 a.m., and I had to take her blood. And she was so dehydrated and she was so tired, and it was really obvious from her gum signs and her nail signs that she was missing out on vitamins and nutrients. But at the time, I didn't know what to tell her at 3 a.m. in the morning when I couldn't take her blood. But I knew something had to change for me. And it was at that point in time I decided that I wasn't going to be in pathology anymore. I was going to go and re-establish myself and get the knowledge I needed to get to actually help this person on a whole nother level. And that's what turned me around to becoming a naturopath. And I retrained as a naturopath, and I loved being able to then help 7,000 people with all sorts of different conditions. Can you see how high, low, high gets you to think about how you fit into my story? What's your high, low, high, and how could you share your story in relationship to either the thing you're trying to sell? So if you are trying to get people in on your, say, thyroid program, or if you're trying to get them in to your retreat, or you might even be trying to get a referral partner. How can you tell a story that's a high, low, high? That'll change a mental trigger in their head for them to see how they or somebody that they know can fit into a story similar to yours. All right, that's number 1, story. Next mental trigger is an event. Now, this has 2 prongs. An event can be you sharing an inciting moment that changed everything. So similar to the story, but it was a moment that changed everything. It's a little bit different to an event. Now, an event can also be an actual event. So being able to get people involved in, say, a webinar, a free webinar. Maybe you're getting them involved in an open day for your new clinic. Maybe you're getting them involved. Somehow you're creating a collective memory that allows them to be involved and to remember that as an event, and it's a platform for them to create a mental trigger, like an anchor back to what you do and how you do it. So that's another mental trigger. When it comes to your sales page, an event might be a countdown. So a time. This is the thing about creating a launch rather than having an e-course that just sits on your website and you don't tell anybody about it. Having a launch, an event, a moment in time that people buy in and they get maybe a bonus or something else, a moment in time that they buy into it is going to move them more than having it available all the time, because they could just pick it up anytime. So have any of you guys noticed that when, say, the Nat Biz Scav Hunt, it sits online all the time. You could go and do it whenever you want, but it was a totally different thing when 500 of you went, oh, I'm going to do it now, and everybody does it at the same time. There's a mental trigger that happens about FOMO, about missing out, that allows you to actually take action and allows the person who's going to be involved in your event, workshop, e-course, whatever it happens to be, it allows them to be involved straight away because the event is the actual motivation. So these mental triggers are motivators for change. So number 1 was your story. Number 2 is an event. Number 3 is social proof. Now, one of the reasons that people don't get involved in things is because they might not have heard about it from somebody that they trust. They might not, this is the interesting thing about testimonials in our profession and in practitioner professions. It's because when we've got social proof that something works, when we've heard through word of mouth that something works, we are so much more likely and motivated to change and choose that as an option, right? So this is the interesting thing about third-party places for naturopaths. I can't speak to all of the different practitioner sets that I speak to on here, but for naturopaths, having a third-party place at the moment, like White Coat and some of these others, where people are leaving testimonials, if you have a link to that on your website, then you've at least got a chance, and you haven't actually personally put it on there. You haven't selected the people who are writing testimonials for you. You're not ethically out of alignment, out of integrity with the HCCC and ACCC guidelines, that other people are able to put in whatever they would like on that third party, and that has nothing to do with you because you're ethically obliged to be able to have any point of view on there as a testimonial. But having that on your website gives you social proof that you are the person that you say you are, that you have helped people before, that you are somebody that can create that motivation to change in someone's health or well-being. So social proof. Now, if you have an e-course or something similar and somebody has gone through that e-course, then you want to be making sure that you have some type of testimonials down the bottom for the e-course, very different to one-on-one consultation testimonials. Testimonials for knowledge-based information products are fine. The ones that we have for one-on-one consultations as you as a practitioner per se, they're in a little grey area at the moment when it comes to what we can look at, like I said, ethically and in integrity. So when it comes to your e-courses or things that you are going to create that way, you want to be making sure that you've got social proof that other people have gone through your course and that they found it beneficial, and that's on your sales page as well. If you just have a sales page that has, here is my course and here's the things you get, it's not going to hit on these mental triggers. And that's what I'm trying to share with you today, that there's 10 of these. And if you just ticked each of them along, you would have much better chance for somebody to be motivated to change or motivated to click. So first one was story. Second one was event. Third one was social proof. And the next one is scarcity. Now, scarcity is a really cool one, and you might have seen it all over the internet. And sometimes it's strategically put there, and other times it's not on purpose at all. It just happens to be like that. Now, scarcity is one of FOMO. So scarcity is either you've only got a limited time, you've got a limited number of spaces, or you've got a limited number of the product. And I mean, think about it. There's times when I've bought things online because there's only 2 left. You know, Virgin and Webjet and places like that. Whatif.com. These last minute places that say, oh, 2 people have been watching this at the same time as you. Don't miss out. You know, scarcity is one of those ones where you're like, oh, I might miss out. Who here is worried that they won't go to one of these conferences that people are going to later on this year? Who here is worried about that they might miss out on the rest of these conversations? Or who here is worried about, there's these moments where we go, but I might miss out. It might not be, it's not open to me. I really want to do that thing. So scarcity is one of those mental triggers, motivations for people to instantly go, quick, so that I don't have to feel that FOMO anymore. So scarcity can come with a countdown clock. So if you are doing a launch, it means that they won't get those bonuses unless they sign up on that last day, and then you do the launch, and then you run a live version of your program, or you run a version of your program where they get a bonus that's really helpful for them, that kind of thing. So it could be a time thing. Scarcity could be, I only have 10 of these new whatever books, cards, that kind of stuff, and I only have 10 of them now, and so you need to take action now so that you can create that change that you want. So Kathleen, yes, FOMO drives my life. Totally. And it's a human condition that we don't want to miss out. We want to experience as many experiences as we can, especially the ones that we have an identity relationship with. So this is all behavioral change. It's all ontological design. There's a whole bunch of different things that come into play here. That essentially, these are conditions that are already set in our human part of our mind, not the being part of our mind, because the being part of us knows that we are already and always complete the way that we are, but our mind gets in the way. And this is the thing about creating motivation for people to change, or creating a mental trigger so that people can actually choose for themselves to change. Hey, Eddie. Is that we need to tap into these things. And Kathleen, if FOMO drives you crazy, I bet there's a whole bunch of clients that are attracted to you that are triggered by FOMO as well. So making sure that you have a scarcity piece in your sales page, or even your elevator pitch. I've got three available, 3 consultations available for $90 this week. And after that, my prices are then going up to $120. See how easy it is? You're like, well, I want to be one of those 3. So having a scarcity piece is one of the mental triggers. So we had story, we had event, we had social proof, and we had scarcity. Number 5 is authority. How can you show that you are somebody that can contribute to the conversation? How can you show that you have either done the work, you've remembered the things you needed to remember from your qualification, and you have an authority in that area? Or how can you show that you are an authority in other ways? So how is there on your sales page, or in your pitch, or even when you are one-on-one in clinic, how can you share that you are an authority? Now, I see it all the time in some of the clubsters that we have. So in here, can you see the background here? Backwards in Facebook land. There was a series of all of my qualifications. So I would have my degree, my other degree, my diploma, my certificate, all that stuff just sits there. It's a visual representation of authority. So on your sales page, is there something that shows that you're a professional? Is there something that shows that you have contributed to this conversation before? Maybe you've appeared in a magazine article, and you can attach that authority that you've been able to speak somewhere or have this conversation before as just an image on your sales page. Maybe it is videos. Authority also comes with the know, like, and trust factor. So is it because you've got a large following on social media and you want to share that on your sales page so that you're ticking the box for somebody to go, oh yes, I want to work with you because you're an authority in this area. You have contributed to this conversation before. And this is the interesting thing I find with people who are just practitioners who are just releasing their first e-course, and they haven't been on social media at all. They haven't been in the conversation about the thing that they're releasing. Say, for instance, we want to do an e-course on kidney health, just because I know nobody is doing an e-course on kidney health. And you are a practitioner who has just spent the past couple of weeks trying to ignore that you've got a blog, and you've been ignoring your Facebook page, and your Instagram page has a whole bunch of pictures of your dogs on it, and you only talk in private groups on Facebook about your love of kidneys, and then you put out a kidney thing and you wonder why nobody's bought it. Notice if you have contributed to the conversation of kidneys on your Facebook page, and you've been writing for 3 months about kidneys, and if you wrote a blog about kidneys, or you commented on a piece on Source Bottle, which is a site where journalists look for you to comment as a naturopath or a nutritionist or a health practitioner, they're always looking for people to comment on your particular area of interest. And you go and comment, and one of the major magazines picks it up, you can then use that authority and pop it on your sales page for your e-course. You can then use the authority because you've been in the conversation on social media, you've been in the conversation on your blog, you've been in the conversation on normal media, that then you're already creating an authority position for yourself. So where are you using authority? In your sales page, or through pictures or visuals? Where are you using it in your clinic to show that you know what you're talking about, to give a level of confidence that the person who's going to click on that isn't just going to get the information that they'll get from a Google search anyway. All right. Number 5 was authority. Number 6, anticipation. This is where bonuses are involved. Bonuses are involved, and often seeding can happen. So when it comes to anticipation, people want to, what is it? Apple. There we go. Prime example of anticipation, and how we use how they have used the mental trigger, the motivational change of anticipation to sell more iPhones. Where's my phone? It's very rare that it's very far away from me. Oh, that's right. I'm looking at my my comments on it because the computer ones aren't working. So here, it's an anticipation every time, even though it does the exact same thing as what the last version of Apple products did. Even though it does, yes, it's got a 0.5 megapixel better camera, but the thing is, still we see on the news people lining up outside the Apple shop or the Apple store when something new appears from them. There's a level of anticipation that comes with it that we then, the people standing there are anticipating it. Everybody's anticipating it on the news websites. Everyone's anticipating it everywhere else. And then it's quickly followed by FOMO. So there's an interesting thing about anticipation, scarcity, not being the first, waiting for timing for things to come out. And there's this other idea about that comes in traditional marketing called guerrilla marketing, where it all hits at one particular event. And so I remember when nudie juices first came out, and they all of a sudden they were appearing on every street corner giving out free juice. And then they had this blimp, and then they had these, they were on social media, and then they were having all of these interesting things happening. And it was this massive anticipation of, oh my goodness, they are everywhere right now. The same thing happens when you are setting yourself up to be able to share your programs with people. How can you do that? How can you do it in an innovative way to seed the idea? Perfect. Yes, Eddie, pre-framing it to the customer. How can you set it up so that they are then looking for it everywhere? How can you set it up so you're setting up the frame, you're setting up the scene? How can you seed the idea that when it first comes out, everyone's actually really interested and wants to press the button? This is the thing. Having a sales page is one thing, but being able to seed the idea, and it's one of the reasons people like Elizabeth Gilbert, when she was writing Big Magic, when she would share all of her, I'm writing my book today, and here's a picture of me writing in this area. Here's a thing, I'm nearly finished. Here's, and Denise Duffield Thomas did it recently as well. Here is what I'm writing, and here's how I'm doing it. Here's how I'm sharing it with you. And the first thing you want to do is go out and get the book, because you are seeding the idea. You are anticipating a moment where you will then be able to buy the book. So yeah, that is number 6. Number 7. Now, I don't like number 7, just pre-framing it. But it is a really, really powerful motivator for change. So the powerful motivator for change and mental trigger, that is number 7, is a common enemy. A common enemy is when there is something worth being moved by internally enough that you will do something to change. Now, the way that this is used in a really beneficial way is that having somebody and it might, or an idea or a notion or a big body of people, places, government, whatever it happens to be, or an idea that everybody is actually so moved against that they are then moved to change, can be used for good. And it can be used in your sales as well. Things like, for us in particular, one of our common enemies would be this ridiculous situation that we have in health at the moment, where every day the numbers go up for diabetes. Every day the numbers go up for cancer. Every day the numbers go up in suicide and mental health conditions. And every day the numbers go up for chronic conditions. And nobody is doing anything about it. You see that there's a common enemy of these numbers going up. And a motivation to change that is actually in this yucky feeling is 7 times more likely for somebody to press the button than it is for the aspirational yummy stuff. So it's an interesting mental trigger to associate with. Now, if you're running an NGO or if you're running an organization that helps lots of people community driven, this is one of the best ones. So we might have seen it with the gun laws over in America, with all of the teenagers and the kids that got on board because there was a common enemy. And then there was literally hundreds of thousands of people marching the streets that were kids because they were so moved to create change from having a common enemy. Of course, they had stories involved. Of course, they had anticipation for an event involved. Can you see how there's a shift and a movement to change if you're hitting on all of these mental triggers and motivations? So, yeah, that's number 7. Number 8 is proof. How can you prove that the thing that you are selling to somebody is actually going to help them? So wherever you can create proof, either social proof that we talked about before in the context of testimonials or people who have experienced your particular program or whatever it happens to be, but it might be proof when it comes to scientific articles, because a lot of you guys love the research. So how can you create context of proof for people that it is going to work? A statistical or data-driven piece. And you might see it as 80% of participants said that they would tell their friends about it. 10% of our clients then go on to make $1 million. There's these statistical data-driven facts that then allow people to be motivated to change. So how can you bring in proof that what you are sharing is actually going to create a change for people? Again, it could be research-based. You could be popping in a little snippet. I've seen it done. Deanna Minnick does amazing little ones of these where she gets the snippets of the most recent research and gives a statistical piece on how this particular way of thinking, this particular lifestyle medicine, this particular nutritional medicine can help. So how can you create proof that's data-driven? Alrighty. Now we are up to 9. So 9, when it comes to mental triggers or motivational change for people to choose to make good choices for themselves, including buying your product, is commitment or consistency to the conversation. Now, I talk about this all the time. How can you be more consistent and more persistent in being in the conversation? How can you be there when that person is asking that particular question about the thing that you are actually really passionate about? So again, it's not just the sales page, and it's not just in that moment. It is, how can you consistently contribute to the conversation so that then when your thing comes out, it's a no-brainer. Somebody's going to go, yep, that's the person that does the kidney thing, and that's the kidney thing, and these are the people I know with kidney stuff. I will send it to all of the kidney people. So how can you be persistent and consistent? And this can come across from in the offline world. Where are you speaking, and what conferences are you going to, and what further study are you doing, and how are you sharing that you are doing all of these things online, on social media, maybe Instagram, Facebook? How are you creating blog posts for medium.com? How are you if you don't have a website already, Medium is a great place to start having conversations about the thing you're interested in. If you do have a website, how are you creating consistent conversations there? And LinkedIn, how are you creating consistent conversations about the thing you're interested in over there? So where could you be more consistent and persistent there? Because over a long time, that shows commitment to that particular conversation. It shows that you're not randomly going from this to this to this to this, but you have a body of work that can be trusted, and that you are the person to go to for that information, and then they can choose that particular work from you. All right, number 10. Number 10 is the one of my favorite mental triggers, because it works on the universal law of reciprocity. And so this is the other thing I get all the time. One of the questions I get all the time is, how much do I share? How much, which one of my things that I've created should I share? Should I share the little one? Should I share the one that, should I keep it all back to myself? The rule of reciprocity is all about the more that you give, the more you get back. So when you are setting yourself up to get ready to get your new program out into the world, how can you give more so that that energy does this? How can you give? How can you give? And then the flow starts to happen. So reciprocity is, how can you create a position where you are actually giving pretty much all of your stuff away for free in small chunks? People can't look up all of that stuff all at once. This is all overwhelming. But inside your course, you've got all of it very, well placed and progressive, taking them on a journey. But how can you give away bits of information that's going to get them to go, oh, yes? And when, you see it all the time, when somebody helps you, all you want to do is help them back. I do it all the time. When there has been, there was something the other day, I think I was on public transport in the school holidays, and somebody helped me getting my son off the public transport. And then all I wanted to do was help them at every moment, to help them. Instantaneously, I wanted to be of service to them because they had been of service to me. I went and helped one of my clients. My online clients happens to live very close to me. And she was in all sorts of a bind this past week. And I just instantly thought, there was no conscious thought of it. All it was, oh my goodness, I can help her. She only lives a little distance away. And I put together bits and pieces that I had around the house, some tea, some other stuff, things that I knew would help her instantaneously feel better. And I went round, I gave her all of the bits and pieces that she needed. And I knew I couldn't just leave them on the doorstep. I really wanted to give her a hug and have a chat to her. Unbeknownst to me, last night I came home and there's this beautiful bunch of flowers there. That's reciprocity in its most extraordinary. And I was so moved, I was crying, because I didn't do any of that to do that. But her note said how amazing it was to have somebody that she doesn't really know come and see her, and all she wanted to do was show her appreciation, and her experience of that came through as flowers. I'll go and get the flowers. Hold on. Oh, I should put them up behind me, actually. How epic are they, right? Isn't that extraordinary? And now this is just one example of it. And they smell so yummy. This is just one example of reciprocity, because you don't intend on doing that usually. Like, it's not but you can see how it works in someone's mind, and especially in your own mind, that when you are when you're receiving somebody's giving, all you want to do is just energetically give back. And so it's exactly the same when it comes to your offering. How can you create the rule of reciprocity in your business where you are giving in a way that is just of yourself? So how can you give the bonuses that aren't going to take a whole bunch of time? It's not going to take a whole bunch of effort or energy. You're just doing it from your heart and your intentions. How can you create bonuses that are going to rock somebody's world, that isn't going to take too much away from you? How can you create a PDF or a checklist or something just that you have around the house? Like I did. I was like, oh, I've got this, and I've got the tea, and I've got the other bits and pieces. And I was like, oh, of course I can give it. How can you create that in your course? How can you create it in what you offer to your clients, that you can just help them in an extra way that then creates that rule of reciprocity? Oh my goodness, I'm getting all of these things. Of course I'm going to click the button. Oh, of course I'm going to, I'm certain this person can help me. So how can you create that? So the 10 mental triggers that we just talked about, or the motivations for change that you can create for your sales page, you can create for getting somebody on board with their treatment program, that you can create when you are having a conversation for referrals. Number 1, story. Remember the high, low, high. Number 2, an event. How can you create an inciting incident that makes somebody shift and change? Number 3, social proof. How can you share it in a way that's ethical and a way that is in integrity, that somebody else has been there before and has benefited from your work? Number 4, scarcity. How can you create a situation where people are noticing their FOMO enough to make a change? Number 5 is authority. How can you share, either through a visual picture or another means, that you are actually contributing to the conversation already, and that you have qualifications, that you have a way of understanding this particular subject matter that other people don't. Number 6 is anticipation. How can you create a seeding or a pre-framing of an idea or a guerrilla marketing incident where you are super excited for the thing that comes out next? Lego does it really well. My son gets this, what's it called? He's in the Lego club, and they used to get a little magazine every month, and it would have one Lego piece. And then at Christmas time, they send one out that has like the Christmas thing, and you build it all together. Last year it was Santa or something. But every month they send out the new thing that's coming out in Lego, but essentially it's a catalog. And every month he's like, ooh, something new, ooh, something new. And there's anticipation for Christmas to come when the thing will come, right? So how can you create that anticipation? Number 7 is the common enemy. And again, we're going to use this in a really good intentional way. And I gave you the example of the common enemy about the numbers going up when it comes to health conditions. Number 8 is around proof and using research and those types of amazing data and statistically driven pieces of information to be able to motivate certain people on the way that they can change. Number 9 was commitment and consistency, being consistent and persistent with the message that you have rather than randomly popping up with your next e-course, making sure that you're dropping in here, there, and everywhere in the conversation around your particular area of interest. Number 10 was reciprocity. How can you be generous of heart that doesn't drain you with things like bonuses? How can you be generous of heart with the information that you give without holding back? How can you be generous? And in that generosity, it's an energetic flow and a universal law that it will create flow. Last one, because you all know I love a surprise, and that is number 11. A mental trigger is a surprise. How cool is that? One of the things that we are so motivated by is a surprise. We see it all the time. Otherwise, we wouldn't have surprise parties. We wouldn't have birthday surprises. We are so motivated to shift and change and be present for surprises. So how can you create surprise as part of your mental triggers for people to move and to create changes? Now, some of these come with long-term programs, for instance. If you are creating a long-term program, how cool is it to send out little surprises along the way that people feel loved and cared for? What if it's a handwritten note and you making sure that they understand that they are heard, they're seen, they're visible, and they're cared for? Some of you might send out a surprise. Oh, this is a good one. I got this from, so I have a platform for my membership site called Ambition Ally. Ambition Ally. And it's amazing. And this is a book called, you can't see the front of it, but it's called The Idea Sanctuary. And Natalie Lathuzia, who runs the Ambition Ally, she sent this out last year, like a physical book, to must have been thousands of her customers. And it's got all of taking an idea from go to woe and all of these little tools to work through to be able to get it there. So how cool is that? So how cool is it to have surprise as an element when it comes to creating a mental trigger to make sure that people are continually motivated to change? So that is the 10 plus 1 mental triggers that if you are having a hard time getting people in your program, getting people on a retreat, selling people into a sales page, if you're writing a sales page right now, if you're creating a landing page for anything, if you are sharing a treatment program and you're trying to get somebody motivated to do the thing that you know is best for them, they're the mental triggers that you need to hit on. Now, last little actionable step. You know I love an actionable step. It's easy for us. It's much easier to see this in action than it is to take action ourselves. So what I'd love for you to do is start to notice when you are on a page and you are about to click to buy somebody's stuff on the internet. Maybe you are motivated to even click on, you're scrolling down and something appears to you. It might be a physical product, it might be a service-based product, it might be somebody else's page. And I want you to notice, I want you to just use your business eyes. Now that you know the mental triggers, I want you to start to scan and see where they have used, which mental triggers they've used, and which ones you notice and which ones you're internally motivated by. Which ones get you going? And some of them will get you going in like an icky way. And they're the mental triggers that you're resonating with, and it's very likely if you're resonating with it, the people around you that you are actually attracting as customers or clients or potential clients, they'll be triggered by it too. So using that on your content, on your pages, is going to be motivating for change for them as well. So first, go and scan, when you're about to hit click on somebody's stuff, go and scan how they've used them and what stands out to you, and then try and reverse engineer it. See how you could use it on your work. Awesome. Alrighty. This was a really yummy conversation. Thank you, guys. And I'm so, so grateful to my beautiful client for, for this wonderful example. Isn't that amazing? I didn't know I was going to use that as an example of rule of reciprocity. And if you got anything out of this, even if it's not the action that I asked you to do, if you got a gold nugget, please share it. Please share what you're actually going to take action on. And if you know anybody else who needs to hear this same conversation, please share it or tag them here so that this can get out to all of our communities and we can start to actually share this and create motivational change in all the people that we are here to help. So thank you guys so much, and I will catch you on the next Training Thursday. See you guys later.